Hi all, and welcome to Daniel A. Messenger's cryptocurrency analysis. Um, so today I would like to introduce myself. I am a 20-year-old investor trying to find a way to make a quick buck. You know, it's pretty hard out there for people my age in America. The unemployment rate's apparently, 30 to 40% for people in my age group, but I believe it to be higher than that. So a big pastime of mine is I've been actually trading silver and gold back in the day for maybe about 2-3 year period between the ages of 17 and now. And I've recently changed from precious metal markets and just Dow Jones and everything like that. Instead of trading that, I'm going to be trading cryptocurrencies because I truly feel they are the breakthrough in making money. They're not being regulated by governments. They're not being naked shorted. They're not being naked long. There's no market manipulation at a point. I believe there is a point, but not at a point nearly where it's at in other markets. So I truly feel this is an organic, easy to understand and assess market in its technicalities and its fundamentals. And to start things off, I'd like to show a 1 hour chart of Bitcoin. And just in the past 2 hours or so, it has broken some very major daily and weekly resistance at the 875 handle, and it's now, instead of being resistance, it's now turned into support for Bitcoin. And it seems as though the major retracement has happened. Now that's just my opinion. It could easily drop down again a couple $100 to the handle of maybe even 575 again. But that has, since it's gone down there, it has turned into some major support. So if it is to break that, then we could really see some breakdown in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But for now, I truly feel that the giant retracement has occurred from its highs of over $1,200 back down to 577-ish. Right now, on this 4 hour chart, we can see that it's coming up to some major resistance. And we'll see how it trades into the opening trading market hours of the United States. Right now it's about 4:38 a.m. Central Time. And these markets don't start picking up for another hour or two. And in volume wise, yeah, the cryptocurrency markets, they like to trade around American time. But it seems as though that in itself is changing now, that we're getting different markets that are entering, and different investors and types of investors that are entering this entire market. That was the big news about Bitcoin. It's like, whoa. Some people don't even know what Bitcoin was or even how it functions, and then they're seeing on the news and stuff Bitcoin breaking $1,000, and then it getting smacked. And that's the disinformation campaign out there. They want you to see how bad and volatile this thing is. But hey, in a dying economy, that's where you make the money. And this is the up and coming economy and how it's going to function, and how Bitcoin's changing the world every second that you listen, every second that I speak. There's just new innovations on everything. They're constantly updating. It's incredible what they do, and it's way ahead of its time. But that's not to say that its stability can be reestablished, which it seems it has. It totally, at this 575 mark, once it came back down to there, it shot up from 575 up to almost 900 in 8 hours. I mean, that's absurd. And if you know market technicalities, you could be making some big bucks. And not just through Bitcoin, but the other cryptocurrencies like I'm doing. Mainly, I'm just showing this Bitcoin chart to just maybe change your mind or even open your mind to what Bitcoin is, how it functions, what to look for in it. You know, it's these major, on this chart, on it, each candle representing one day here. This is groundbreaking. If you notice the groundbreaking support for a further bullish market to even develop even further, which is pretty crazy to say if you see where it's come from and where it's at. And for me to say that it can go even further up, that, you know, a lot of people are raising their eyebrows going, dude, the money's been made already. But how do they know? You know, there's only X amount of people in this market. Has the true market price discovery been established, or has it just started? Is this major breakdown the first ever signs of true establishment in what it is, and saying, hey, you know, you can batter us around, it's not gonna matter, the next day is gonna come through and we're gonna be coming out crystal clear? And it's brilliant. So, okay, on this chart we see a major moving average just increase from, let's see, that's about, you know, mid-November. It's gone, you know, the moving averages have just skyrocketed, and that retracement that came, it had to be done. And you know what better time for China to pick when it's going to set out these regulations than when this retracement has to happen. So if it was going to break down, now would be a great time for it to do that, which it did. But did it break down to a point where it can't be reestablished as a bullish market? I do not believe that. I believe this thing's only starting. We had a major support line, resistance line develop at about the 575 handle. And after it made its new highs, and then it kind of came back down, you know, it's about, what is that, the 840 handle, and then it went back up again, and it came back down to that major support, which is this 575. It's major supports on a psychological level, fundamentally speaking, and where it stands as a future, in that, you know, a 550 support line for anything, that's incredible. You know, you look at Google charts and stuff, you know, they got high end support lines, and it seems that Bitcoin has developed one. And so the main reason I am making this video is to inform you and maybe help you with some technicalities and what Bitcoin is, where it's going. And right now I'm really looking at, can it break this $1,000 handle? Well, not really a handle, but a psychological number. I mean, 1,000, that's a big number. If it could break that today, that's saying something. But just because it doesn't, let's say it channels for a while, or it might even break down and go back to a 800 handle again, or the 875. You know, if this happens, it's just providing more support for itself in the long term, where you're not going to see giant spikes like this anymore, because the true discovery of what Bitcoin is, the worth, the intrinsic value, the commodity aspect, the currency aspect, the transactions, the peer-to-peer editing, I mean, this thing has so many things to it that it's really incredible. So that'll be what I'm my main thing of the day is to watch what happens when and if it breaks the $1,000 mark. How does it react? And is it based off of news? Does any news come out, supporting Bitcoin, and that's what made it jump to that $1,000 mark, or is it doing it on its own with just the market itself? Alright, that is part one of my technical, fundamental, and philosophical analysis of cryptocurrencies. Thank you for listening, and I really hope you learned something. Feel free to comment, feel free to ask me any questions you have, concerns, arguments. I'm big on debating about Bitcoin, because I actually my first video I put up was about how I think that Bitcoin is unstable. It's not going to last in the long run. But I've been just going flip-flopping back and forth and really, really thinking about Bitcoin, and it really seems that I changed my mind from thinking that it's going to break down into something that's just started. Because look at the retracement of its breakdown. It broke down 50%, and people are just like, oh, maybe it's just a great time to buy. And it is. And I'm really glad there's people out there that are believing in that. Buy the dips, buy the dips. That's an old motto that I heard on the silver trading forum. They were, when silver was reaching new highs, almost hitting $50, and it would just get shorted to shit. And all these retracements happened, these breakdowns happened. It got under its Kumo cloud. Like when it got into those areas, there were just multiple times where it would jump up $3 and just go down. And if you bought on all those dips, you could have made some very nice cash. And that's what I think translates to Bitcoin. You see dips, buy them. If you have a way to actually purchase Bitcoin, that's great. I will be possibly making a video soon related to how you can get into Bitcoin, because I'm sure there's so many people out there that are wondering, how do you get into Bitcoin? How I want Bitcoin. How can I get it? There's a few ways you can get Bitcoin, and there's the complete. Well, I guess you can't really consider it a legitimate way, but because there is no regulation against Bitcoin right now. But I think in the future, they're going to come heavily down on purchasing Bitcoin. They want to know how many you have. That's what they're doing in China now. If you are a Bitcoin miner in China, they want to know how many you have. They want to know how much you're worth, because China is realizing just how much of a force Bitcoin represents in this, geopolitical, geoeconomic epicenter being that China is. And for them to be the first country to come out with law and regulation, and then Bitcoin drops down and retraces itself nicely, then all you really gotta worry about at this point is finding these bottom support lines on the daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly charts. And if you can find those bottoms and just trade off of that, you will be golden. So right now, I would not consider Bitcoin to be a buy, mainly because it's just it could easily break back down to even $600 if it really wants to. But then again, it could break this $1,000 mark. So what I'm going to say to you is, judge what you're going to do based on what happens when it first breaks this $1,000 mark. When it does that, that will tell you that will be the prediction and the indicator of what's going to happen to Bitcoin. If it breaks that $1,000 and just shoots up, I'm telling you, get in. I don't care if it looks like it's about to pop back down. It's going to keep going up. Because right then and there, that means everybody's clicking. They're all like, oh, all these, it's like, Wall Street. People trade in there. You see these people that are just going insane, trading back and forth, the day trading. Um, yeah, that's what Bitcoin's going to become eventually. It's going to become the next Wall Street, the next epicenter of transactions as a whole. That's where I see Bitcoin going, and I think I made this video a little bit longer than I wanted to, but yeah, I hope you learned something. Thanks a lot.